All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. Wednesday night, Giants post-game show. We got the great Marty Lurie joining us. How you doing, Marty?
Oh, good, Danny. Great to see you, and you're doing a great job. Congratulations on
thank you.
Together.
Appreciate that, Marty. It's always great to have you on, and the chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on. People are saying, when's Marty coming on next? I says, I'll get him on. Spencer Stewart says, hey, Marty. Yeah, they'll be all coming in here. They'll start popping in as the notifications go out. We're live. Well, the Giants, I put a fork in them last week after they lost to Seattle, but they lost another game tonight to Atlanta. They are now 8 games technically behind Atlanta with 28 to go.
Yeah, it's difficult. Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem. And when they're in that kind of 6 range, as you say, 7, because of the tiebreaker, if you go forward 3 games to 4, well, now 4 with 23 to go, you're still talking. If you go back to 10 with 23 to go, then you got trouble. So they're in that very dangerous range right now. I gave them until the end of the Diamondback series. I said by the end of the Diamondback series, at that point, they better be in that 3-4 range. If they're not, then you're really asking for trouble at that point. So I'm not ready to say put a fork in them, but it's getting warmed up.
You're easier than I am. I put a fork in them. I don't see this team. They've yet to win 4 in a row or 5 in a row all season.
Atlanta, you got to look at the whole picture. Number one, is Atlanta going to continue winning at this pace? I mean, it's like San Diego and Arizona. They're going to play 800 ball for the next month, and that's kind of what Atlanta is doing right now with all the injuries. They're not losing. They're beating everybody. So that's got to slow down. All right. Now the Mets, they're 4-4 tonight with Arizona. They're scoring some runs. Their pitch not great. Bullpen's okay, but they're swinging the bat. So they're still in it. But the team to watch, the Cubs, believe it or not, the Cubs are ahead of the Giants now by a game.
I said that, Marty. I said at the All-Star break on this show, watch out for the Cubs. They're not playing to the potential. They have some good veterans. I like some of their players. I like Bellinger. I like Horner. I like Swanson. These guys are proven vets that have played for a while. Then they've got, some other guys around the outfield, infield there. And I said they will pass the Giants and finish higher. And I don't know if that happens, but right now they've caught up with them. And the Cubs, in fact, let's just take a quick peek, shall we, at the standings and just take a look at what we're talking about here. Okay, let's move to the National League here. In fact, why don't we just go to the wild card, because that's what all Giants fans are interested in right now. We'll look at the wild card, and as we blow this up so everybody can see it, you see the Diamondbacks on top there. They've got a good cushion because they're technically 6 games up on the Mets. So the Diamondbacks are 6 up on the Mets, Padres 5.5, Braves 3.5. Now that could change to 3 or 4 depending on what happens in San Diego with that game. But you see the Cubs are now a game ahead of the Giants. Look here at the Giants' 67 losses to the Braves' 60.
Yeah.
They own the tiebreaker. So the Braves now have 29 games remaining. They're 73-60. The Giants, 66 and 67, have 28 games remaining. For the Giants to win 87, they got to go 20-8 to finish 87-75. 20-8. And for the Braves have to only win 86 games, because if they win 87, they own the tiebreaker. So the Braves only have to go 13-9 and 16 to finish 86 and 76.
Yeah, no, the numbers are overwhelming. Look, the Giants can only win 95 games. So that means the magic number for Atlanta right now is 23. So any combination of
Actually 22. Actually 22 because they own the tiebreaker.
okay, all right, 22. So,
Any combination.
look, the schedule has gotten the Giants to look, they're not winning games they're supposed to win. They are who they are. Bill Parcells said this. I say it on the show all the time. You are what your record is, and they're a 500 team, and they're losing games that you would hope that they would win, but they're not winning them. Got beat by Detroit at the end of that series. Detroit's actually winning right now. They're starting to win some games now. But you ran into, of course, teams like, the Marlins coming up, and you got to sweep them. And, they're just not getting it done. They couldn't sweep the White Sox. Seattle can't hit at all, and they end up losing 2 or 3 up in Seattle, and the bad game on Friday night. So it's not going well. I want to talk about tonight a little bit.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's, in fact,
tonight for me was sort of a microcosm of what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. And I said this, Bochy understood, and a lot of managers I've been around understand. I'm sure Bob Melvin does to some extent, but you get to this time of year, you have to manage differently. Things are different. You can't let a game get away from you. You can't. You've got to do everything you can to stop the bleeding and win this particular game. Now, we saw it on Friday night with the Tyler Rogers business, the 6 straight hits, and no one was ready. No one came in there. We've seen it on the White Sox series when he brought in Bevins in the 9th inning in a critical game. And I think we saw it tonight with Kyle Harrison. I mean, Kyle Harrison pitched the best game tonight that he's pitched in a long time, but he got to that the 5th inning, 6th inning, 5th inning, and he walks the guys at the end of the order. He's walking the lefty, Frelick and Ortiz. Neither one of them can hit, and he's been pitching great, but now he's all over the place. And now he's up to 90 some odd pitches. He's getting there. At this point, all right, it's 1st and 2nd. You got 2 out. Churio is up. Give him a shot to try to get Churio. Okay, it's a nothing game at that point. Why not? Well, Churio bangs one into right field, and now it's 1-0. The kid's down. All right, now you've seen a couple of walks. You've seen the hit to right field. You got Perkins coming up, who's not a great hitter, but against a lefty, he's hitting 2nd in the order. Get him out right there. And I said it. I mean, I'm not second guessing it. I said it. Get him out now.
Right.
And of course, Perkins knocks one over Conforto's head. And now you got another run in. You got 2 more on base. 2 come in. You got 2 on base. And now Contreras is up. Get him out for Contreras. And he leaves him in for Contreras. And he hits a 2-run homer, and it's 5 runs. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I tell you, I'm watching this, and I love Bob Melvin, and he's won divisions, and he's managed 3,000 more games than I have. But I've watched probably 3,000 more games than he has. And I'm telling you something. When you get into this part of the season, you get in games like this, you better make your move now. You can't wait. You can't wait. And then he gets Jelly up. Jelly comes in, of course, gets out of the inning. And then Warren gives him a couple of good innings. The Giants now fight back with a couple of 2-out hits against a tough bullpen the Brewers have, and they get back in it. But it should not have happened that way. And I'm telling you, this happened the other night in Seattle, and it's not right. It's not right what's going on. He's got to manage differently, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it.
Yeah. No. He's not. And, we look at the box score here tonight. Fitzgerald came back with 2 hits his last couple of at-bats. Conforto got the
pitch to right field.
Yeah.
Well, he pulled the hands in. Look, the kid's struggling. They're throwing him all sorts of pitches.
All kinds of spin. Yeah. They're just throwing him spin.
Because look, if you throw him a fastball, he can crush it.
Right.
And he got a fastball side tonight, and he took it to right field, and he got a hit. But yeah, the kid's trying. He's still a little erratic at shortstop. But look, they put Taylor Rogers on waivers, right?
Yeah, I want to get to that. Taylor Rogers and
Estrada, which is no shock. It's no shock. Estrada's had just a miserable season, and you do have people at Sacramento that you can give a chance to.
I was wondering if this is my thinking, what they might be doing. They might be looking at saying, you know what, we want to re-sign Chapman. There's no spot for Casey Schmidt unless we make him a second baseman, because Fitzgerald's now the shortstop going forward. So is Casey, we got to take a look and give this kid 100 at bats before the season ends and see if he's part of the future or not.
Yeah, no, there's no argument on that. And Wisely is the other one.
I'm with Wisely, I want to see Casey play every day. Wisely to me is a guy that is not an everyday player. He's a fill-in guy. He's adequate when you need a guy to fill in for a week, but he's not a guy that you want to go play for 6 months.
No, I agree. No, Schmidt is someone you can bring up, and you can the aforementioned Luciano. You can bring him back and put him at second base. And
I would like to see. I said this to Sean the other night. I'd love to see Luciano just get the guy playing first base. You don't have a first baseman right now until Eldridge comes up, and that's 2 years away. Let's see what Luciano can do. He can play first base. There's no doubt about it, because
you're not field. Yeah, but you got Wade there now. You're not going to sit.
Yeah, but Wade's not the answer. You
still are playing. I mean, you got to be competitive. But you can't put Luciano at second if you wanted to.
You could.
Claim Estrada.
And I would do that. If I would be fine with that if they just play one of the kids. Play him.
But you got to, someone's got to claim Estrada at some point.
Who do you think might claim him? I mean, Atlanta is with Albies out right now, and they signed
Merrifield. Merrifield's been terrific for them.
He's been picking it up. Yeah. So I don't know.
5 hits the other night.
I don't know who's
Urshela is at third. I don't know. You'd have to go down and see, what contender may need a second baseman. The other one is Taylor Rogers. What happened to him? I mean, how do you Eric Miller's got the strikeout pitch. All right. But he does come in with first and second, and he walks the first guy. And now he's got to strike out Hoskins, which he does. And then he strikes out the kid, Frelick, who had no chance to end the inning, Terang, to end the inning right there. But my point is, you put Taylor Rogers on waivers, I guess you've given up on him because you're paying him in the millions.
Yeah, he makes 11 to 12 million, I think, a year.
Yeah, but they haven't used him in big situations in a while. That's a weird one for me.
It really is strange, Marty, because he's done nothing to really lose faith in the team. He hasn't had a bad season.
No, they like Miller's arm better. And
I like the veteran leadership and look, Rogers was a closer with Minnesota. He closed for a while in San Diego.
Get rid of the money.
And I got to say, if they get rid of Rogers, it'll be 100% that Farhan's 3-year deals he's handed out, none of them have made it through the third year. They've all been let go or traded.
Yeah. Yep.
Every one of them.
The other guy I would put on waivers right now is Conforto.
I brought that up. And you know why I bring up Conforto?
I mean, he did get hit tonight, and he did, but come on, he's hitting like 225 and he's making some money. But you do have kids who can't play the outfield. Look, McRae, you gave him a chance. McRae's an interesting player. They haven't started pitching to him yet.
Right.
And when they start pitching to him, we'll see what happens. But so far, he's running into some mistakes, and he's got some power. I like his speed. But Conforto, my God, he's just taking up space.
Well, do you think because of the platooning that they have done with Conforto that they
he plays a lot now?
But I mean, he's hitting .313 against lefties, and yet they pinch hit for him the other night.
Let Matos play up here. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
just
got to
think
be somebody to play in the outfield. I don't know. It seems to me that would be a natural. He probably can help somebody.
that's
He's
what
a
I was thinking. He
veteran,
could help somebody. Yeah,
and it would. This is Wednesday. We've got until
Saturday,
Saturday.
right?
So it wouldn't shock me to see him go somewhere. So we'll see what they do. This is, you lose tomorrow, and it heightens the urgency to maybe try to move a couple of these players and save some money.
Right. I think I did not predict any of these guys that went on waivers today, but I did predict Conforto because they're paying him 18 million. So this is the 1/6, 3 million is what some club would have to pay to pick him up. $3 million. And that's worth it if you're going for a title.
Look, the Mets could still be interested in him. I know they took Winker instead
Right.
of him, but you have him. Who knows? The Braves, may be able to deal with him. They're still going to be challenged to score runs as we go through this thing. You'd have to, as I say, you'd have to go through the list and see what American League clubs may want him. But that's one I wouldn't be shocked if he goes somewhere because he should have some interest because he's been a World Series player and he can hit the ball a little bit, but he's never coming back.
Right. He's not coming back.
What do
Now,
you
Marty,
think?
you would know this. I would think players like Conforto would request to be put on waivers. Like, give me a shot at the playoffs this year.
Well,
I'm not coming back. I'm a free agent.
I don't.
Estrada
I don't
and
think
Rogers
he
are
thinks
not
like
free
that. He's getting his 18 million. He's got his little baby. Everything is
Yeah.
nice in San Francisco. The last thing is pushing to get out of here. He just wants to get his money, I would think, at end of
Yeah.
season. But truthfully, for his career in his future, if he had one of those Beltran, Soler, Rosario playoffs,
Oh, yeah.
he could get a job because if he doesn't, he's going to have a tough time getting a job next year.
Probably so. You look at the guys that didn't get jobs this year, guys that actually had decent seasons last year, like Brandon Belt, who had an 800 plus OPS last year and didn't get a job this year.
Which brings us to Chapman.
Yes.
What do they do now? If you could, would you sign him? And if you could sign him, how much of a commitment do you make? Is it worth it? Is he just a good player on a mediocre team? Or is he really a good player that you want to have if you're going to be a pennant winner?
Yeah. I said this to Ned last night. I think Matt Chapman would be a dynamic player on a team like the Dodgers where they don't have to count on him offensively because they have stars and the Yankees have stars. The Giants have no stars. Yes, Ramos made the All-Star team, but he's not a star yet.
Yeah.
He's not that guy.
Yeah,
And
Chapman shows up every day. He's a great glove. He's going to hit 25 home runs. He's probably going to drive in 75 to 80 runs when it's all said and done.
perfect for a team
In today's world, that's pretty good. I still think they don't have a third baseman, and they don't have the prospect of a third baseman. So I don't know what he's going to want to do. I mean, I'm not sure he's going to have a great market, but he probably is 3 years at 75 or 3 years at 85.
that's about right. That's about right. Now I'm hearing they're talking 5 years and they want to go 5 years 120ish, 125, 4 years 100. I wouldn't do that. I think he's going to be 32. To me, if I'm going to tear up his contract, I'll give him 2 years and 60 million even. But don't go over 2 years because he's going to regress at some point, and he's never been a clutch hitter. That's why his RBIs are only at 62.
Yeah. Now look, he's going to be up 600 times. He shows up every day.
Yeah,
he's going to lead the team in hits and home run. He's a very, very nice player.
He is. I have no problem about his game.
There's no one behind him.
Right. You got to go get Guerrero.
I think he's going to opt out, and I think the Giants should really try to get him for the 3 years. And so in that, then it would be paying him for 4 because he's here now.
Right.
Or you'd be paying him like for 4 years for maybe 100, which is probably what he should have gotten last year, something like that.
Now, the thing, if you bring back Chapman and you don't do anything else to bring in stars, you're not getting the full use of his talents. He's right now coming up too often in key situations with runners in scoring position,
Yeah.
and he doesn't come through. His batting average is with
240.
runners in scoring position, but his batting average with runners in scoring position is like 190.
Yeah, he's a 240 hitter, basically.
Right. He's got you
in
got to
today's
have
world, he does have power, and he does come through occasionally. And look, the guy catches everything. He really is a fabulous. Crawford is to short. He is to third.
He's a great third baseman. He's a very what I would call he's very talented on the bases. He's very game aware.
Good runner.
Made one mistake this year, which really hurt him after the triple against Detroit and coming home on the infield with the infield in. That was just a mental error. But you know what? I've watched him play enough to see that he definitely knows how to play the game well. He shows up. He's a good clubhouse guy. He's really perfect for this club. But you know what's missing? I'll tell you what the Giants could do, but it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to tell you this is what they will do. I don't see it happening. But if you could trade for Vladdy Guerrero and sign Juan Soto and have Chapman, you are a contender.
Where is your bong? Is your bong there?
Yeah, my bong here. Let me get that there because it's not going to happen. I know that.
Are you smoking tonight or just using the bong tonight?
This one here. Turn it up here. We'll give it one more time there.
No, I was teasing. I said you're smoking marijuana.
Oh, that one. Oh, the bong. Okay, yes.
I'm a man of the 60s. We remember the
bong. Yes, the bong. Okay, I thought you said I think you meant the gong. Yeah, the bong. Yeah, I do not think anything will happen.
You're out of your mind.
No, he's Chapman. No, Soto's not coming. He's not coming.
Don't even waste time.
I'm just saying what they need. It's their only chance of ever being good.
Yeah,
but these guys aren't.
Look at next year. Let's take a look as we're talking here. This one, look, as I say, until the Arizona series is over, I'm not going to say they're done. You win 4 in a row. Atlanta loses 4 in a row, and all of a sudden people are going nuts and getting excited. So we're not at that, called the emergency vehicle yet. Not yet. All right. But what does it look like for next year? Wade probably is not the answer at first.
Nope.
They have a real void at second because Estrada's going to be gone.
Yep.
Fitzgerald is a good player. Is he the shortstop? Nah, maybe. He's more of like a real good utility guy. And then at third, let's say you have Chapman. You've got Ramos in the outfield. I mean, he's going to be here no matter what. You've got Lee coming back in center. Probably Yastrzemski doesn't come back, I would think, but maybe he does. But I would think not. But maybe that's a right field is where you go with Teoscar Hernandez or that kind of player. That's where you go to pick up the guy you want. Bailey is going to be the catcher no matter what until the automatic strike zone goes in. His pitch framing is very valuable, even if he can't hit. So honestly, it's first base, right field, second base. That area is what they have to concentrate on. And I love the Vladimir Guerrero idea, but I don't think Toronto's going to trade him. He's had such a great season that he is their star. How do they trade the guy?
Yeah, it's a rough one. Let me go through the chat here. Got some questions here and comments. Robert Brown, one of our members, says, I agree. Fitzgerald is maybe an everyday shortstop.
Yeah.
I suggested that Fitzgerald should be ideally suited as a Chris Taylor type and move around, give guys a day of rest, but play him most every day. But
his speed is tremendous. He's got some power. He can steal a base. It's a one-run game, and he gets on in the 8th inning. It's trouble. And I agree with Robert Brown. Maybe every day, but probably not. More like what you just said, a Chris Taylor type.
Yeah, and they need a DH, Robert says, too. Exactly. Let me ask you this question, Marty, because this has been burning in the chat. And is the platoon system that they're going with, is this Farhan or Melvin?
Well, everything is Farhan.
It seems like it, because Melvin didn't used to manage this way.
No, but Melvin puts his guys out there. I mean, he puts his guys out there every day. If you look at the lineup, it's the same lineup. If it's a righty lefty, you know who's going to be in that lineup. He doesn't mess around too much. He's pretty much, he likes his guys and he plays them. But as far as any tinkering goes, that's not just Farhan, that's the organization. That's the way they approach it. They have their hands on everything.
Yeah, and it's
What do you do with DH? That's Robert Brown brings up a good point.
Uh
Where do you go at DH? I mean, if Fitzgerald's not playing, I guess you can DH him, but you'd rather have someone who really is a, the hitter, the JD Martinez in his prime kind of hitter that you
Right.
can put in there.
Yeah, I think they thought they were getting that with Soler, not quite the hitter, for average, but they thought they were going to get the power, and it just didn't materialize. But I don't know what they do. I mean, they tried Jock, for a couple years. Jock's having a great year with Arizona.
Well,
He's got a 900 OPS.
Yeah, okay, look, for Arizona, the guy hits right-handed pitching. It's going to be interesting to see the series next week, and I have to think about where's Snell going to pitch. Is Snell pitch Friday night? So Saturday.
Friday. Yeah,
He'll pitch against Arizona. Harrison, I don't know if he's going to pitch, but you like to get some lefties in against Arizona because they are lefty loaded in that lineup.
And Marte is supposed to maybe play back next weekend.
Next week, he's on the IL.
Yeah, he's got a high ankle sprain now. They're saying
Walker in the Giants series. It's not impossible.
Oh, Christian Walker, yeah, he's been out too. Arizona's winning without these guys, and when they get healthy, they're going to be a tough out.
Carroll's starting to play now. Carroll is a lefty, and he had a home run tonight. He's starting to play, and the little kid catcher that they got in there.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He's left-handed. And then you get Jock, who's left-handed. And if Martinez playing, he's left-handed. So you've got some action here against them. So let's see what happens next week. I'd love to see a good lefty go against Arizona. But, boy, this Giants team, when you need the big hit, it just doesn't happen. The bullpen still is solid. It's still solid. And no matter who they bring up, the guy is pretty good. And this Warren, he looked like he's got a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, got a breaking pitch, Tommy John. So, the control's off, but good arm. You give him a lead in the seventh inning, and it's still Duvall, as goofy as he is, he still has his stuff. He does.
Right.
He still has it. He gets in trouble, and he still can throw that 100-mile-an-hour. And he's still got the slider, and then you got Walker. You got the other Rogers. That bullpen is still solid. It really is.
Yeah, it's been great to see the actual bullpen come around.
If you got Bevins in there, or Jelly.
Walker has been dynamite. Absolutely dynamite.
Yeah.
But the clutch hitting, Corey Dixon says it right here. No clutch hitting whatsoever on this team.
No.
It is, Sean was on Monday night, made the joke with Ron Wotus on the set the other night, talking about the day they played Saturday against Seattle, where they actually stole bases, 4 bases, made 2 bunts. And I was like, where's this been all season? And they made the joke about the Little League World Series bunting over and how that game ended. I don't know if you saw that highlight. The kid threw it down. And Sean said, even if they didn't throw it down the line, if the runner was on third, they probably would have figured a way they probably would have scored. It wasn't the Giants.
The big leagues, it's tough to give up an out.
Yeah.
It really is. I know I'm talking analytically and all that, but it is tough to give up an out. A lot of teams will do it. They'll, move a runner over. But, boy, You move that runner to second with one out, and the pitching is so good. You see, when the pitching wasn't so good, if you moved the guy over, you had a decent shot at getting a hit.
Yeah.
Now the pitching is so good, it's
Right.
hard to get a hit. The league hits 240.
Yeah.
You
It
hit
does. Yeah.
240, you're an average hitter.
Yeah. It's
So
amazing.
you can't bunt as much, but you can use your speed. And that's what McRae gives him. I think McRae could be a part of the team next year. It's not impossible.
No, he
You
probably won't hit much for average, but he plays. He gets great jumps on the ball. He
And he can run. You need
Yeah.
you need athletes. So
Absolutely.
you make a spot for him.
Yeah.
I guess Luciano, if he is your guy as the DH, if you're going to finally commit to him and just give him that chance. Give him that 300 at bats and just forget about it. You just have to, at some point, you have to let the kid hit.
Right.
Let him
Right.
hit.
Let me tell Corey says another loss. Braves win 6 back now. 6th in the standings, Corey, but technically they're 8 back because
Loss column.
the 7 in the loss column with the Braves owning the tiebreaker means the Braves need to lose 8 more games than the Giants lose. So the Giants are in a situation now where they probably will have to win 88 games just to have a shot. And to do that, they have to win 21 and go 21-7.
Just make it, look, go 4-2. How about that? How about 5-1? Just make it interesting. Then we'll worry about 22-6.
Yeah, the Giants really
5-1.
What they have to do is not even look at Atlanta. They just need to win.
Yeah.
And just win.
Just win, baby. That's the deal. Give me a 4-2 or a 5-1, and I'll take my chances. But you can't lose 2 or 3 to Seattle. Seattle couldn't hit it all. They couldn't hit it all. That was not good that they lost that series. That was a tough one.
Yeah,
now tomorrow is Birdsong, so let's see what he's got. This is a home run park. The ball travels here. It is, and Savali, they saw him when he was with Cleveland. He gives up a ton of home runs. Right. So tomorrow could be. I'll say tomorrow the score is 8-7.
Okay,
something 8-7. Like that. Yeah.
All right,
this
Aaron
runs tomorrow.
Very good. Aaron, one of our members, says, "Will Farhan's 80 sell the job to ownership, assuming he's even needs to do that? Let me see if I can make sense of this. Sell job to ownership. Be that the kids are now playing and that there's something for 25, even though that's only happening because of slumping bets, injuries."
I think so. I think you got a point. I think if he says, "Okay, I'm rebuilding, and I'm gonna, let's bring in more of the kids next year. We got Birdsong, we got Harrison, we got Robbie Ray and Webb, and we got our bullpen, and now let's try to get some kids playing here. Then give me a shot at that." Yeah, if they're committed to that, they're not bringing Ned in, to start making trades. My opinion is that this ball club needs to trade and get some more athletes at the major league level and give up some of that minor league talent. I just think they have to. You need a general manager who has the broader view, in my opinion, of making trades and bringing in new players. Not guys who are hurt, not guys in A ball who are hurt or rehabbing, but go out and get me a player who's ready to play. And give up some of your minor leagues that people may want, but give me someone that's ready.
Right. Absolutely. And, the thing...
He doesn't do that. That's not...
He doesn't make trades. Sabian made trades. They all didn't work out, but at least he pulled the trigger. He was willing to take risks.
I've said this to Farhan, and I've said it on the show. I think he tried this year. He really did. I mean, look, they tried to sign free agents. They tried Otani, they tried Yamamoto. They tried. They probably didn't have a chance, and probably you had to be more realistic. Say, we probably don't have a chance here. But then the market kind of grabbed them and dictated to them that they couldn't make moves in November, December, and January because the market wouldn't move. And these guys sat out there. So then Farhan got in a position, okay, I can't make moves because no one's biting right now. So I'll wait. And he waited and he signed. Boom. I mean, look, I was standing in the clubhouse every day. A new guy showed up.
Yeah.
You know, here's Murphy. Here's Soler. Here's Chapman. Here's Robbie Ray. Here's Snell.
Yeah.
You know, every time you turn around, it's someone new. And it just didn't work out. He tried. He really
did.
tried.
I don't give him any
market.
I don't give him grief for signing Hicks, Soler,
another one.
And you know, my thing was with Jordan Hicks, and I said it right away when they signed him to be a starter. I said, this is not going to work out. He has never pitched more than 77 innings in a season. They're going to burn him out. And my fear is that he's going to get hurt in the second half and not have any effect on the. And you could see it coming, Martin. The kid pitched 104 miles an hour, and he's down into the low 90s now.
I know. In spring training, he looked great. He looked terrific. He was fresh. And he just said 2 days ago, he said, look, now I know what I'm getting into. I'll come in better shape. And again, he was a signee over the winter and in this whole new position. And he wasn't really ready. Not that it was his fault, but he wasn't really ready for what was ahead. And it came back to bite him. So that hopefully they'll straighten out next year.
Make him the 8th inning setup guy for Walker. Trade Duvall while he still has value before it starts going further down. They had a chance to trade Duvall at the trade deadline, and they didn't. And I thought they should have traded Snell because I didn't see him getting to the playoffs. And we don't know what the offers were. To be fair to Farhan, it's possible nobody offered anything worth making the trade.
Yeah.
But
it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision. You know, you're still in it. You know, he's your guy. He's pitching great. The potential is there. He still is. And he's fighting for a contract. So he's going to give you everything he's got every time out. Unfortunately, he had to pitch in Seattle and had a big party at his house on Thursday night and was probably still recovering, you know, whenever he pitched on Saturday, you know, so he was distracted. But look, if they're going to do anything, look, is Webb tired? I mean, Webb was really struggling, giving up the home runs right and left yesterday.
He's coming off of a respiratory illness.
And he's pitched a lot of innings. Look, they're doing their best. They're doing their best for what they have, and they still are not put away. You know what I mean? You know, we're heading into September.
Well, I started my show Saturday night, Marty, with Don Meredith singing "Turn Out the Lights." The party's over. I think it's over.
You go 5-1, and you'll be on 6 times a day like Larry. You know, you'd be on every 6 minutes. You know,
I'm on 3 times a day right now.
You'll be on 6 times a day. Yeah, if they go 5-1. So
they go 5-1. If they go 5-1 at any point on this with the rest of this schedule, I guess they could do it with Miami coming in next week.
Why not? You win. You know, you win tomorrow. You get a slugfest. You win tomorrow, and you got
Miami.
You got Miami, and you should do well against Miami. You should. And then you get Arizona coming in. So who knows? We'll see.
Well, Robert wants to know, do you think with trades Farhan can make the hard choices?
He hasn't done it yet. It's not his MO. It just has not done it yet. So my answer is I'll have to see it. I'll be from Missouri. I'll be Harry Truman. Show me. Right. You got to show me that you can do it. He has not shown that yet. Everything he's done has been sort of off, the waiver wire, the injured guy, a lot of free agent signings over the winter, and he did do that. I give him total credit for that. But as far as taking Wisenhunt and Luciano and another guy, McRae, and trading him for the next Jackson Churio, that hasn't happened. And that's what I'd like to see happen.
Right. What do you think? I know I asked you this last time. I'll tell you, I think you believe Farhan's going to be back, right, in 25?
I do.
I think I think there's going to be a lot of noise as this season starts to end in September, and they start kind of falling further back, and that they finish below 500. I think there's going to be a cry for. I mean, Mad Dog came on to NBC Sports Bay Area, and Laura Britt asked the question.
I remember that was months ago.
Yeah, months ago. But somebody put Laura up to that question. I'm telling you, that was there's somebody in the organization that wants that out there.
Yeah. Look, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. You know, he's had his chance. He's had his chance to build it his way. He's had his chance to sign the free agents, and nothing has really gone his way. It just hasn't gone his way. So it's not impossible. They could make a move and change direction. It's not just the general manager. He runs the whole umbrella.
Yeah, he runs the whole operation.
It's not Pete. You know, it's not Zach Manazian. It's not Holmes, the scouting director. It's the guy at the top. And they could make a change. It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Yeah. I think Farham's value.
If September gets particularly ugly, like it did for Kapler last year,
right?
Got to Arizona and just quit. I mean, if it ever got to that looked like that, it's not impossible that they could make a change. It really isn't.
I can foresee that happening with this schedule, because right now they're facing Arizona and San Diego total of 12 times between the two teams. They've got 28 games left. Yeah. 12 with Arizona Diamondbacks, and then they got Baltimore, Kansas City. That's another 6, so that's 18. Let me see the rest of that for September. Got Baltimore, Kansas City. Oh, Milwaukee, 3 more at home against Milwaukee. So 21 of their 28 remaining is 4 with Milwaukee.
I know.
6 Arizona, 6. But what I'm saying, Marty, with these teams, they're in playoff mode now, Arizona, and they're battling for position, and they want to make sure that they own that, stay on top. And then you got the Mets fighting against the Braves, and that's a battle. Those teams are playing with much more intensity than what the Giants are playing.
Well, that's why you hope they can stay in this thing.
I don't see it.
You don't want to be 12 out of the wild card and have, the next 19 games against teams that are fighting to stay in it.
Yeah.
And I do that. So, as I say, I'll give them to the end of the Arizona series.
The first series, not the one here.
Series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next week in San Francisco.
Yeah. I said Seattle, Milwaukee, Miami, Arizona, that group. And I said, when that group is done, they better be 3-4 back at that point, because then it really starts getting tough.
Technically, the standings are 6 back right now of Atlanta.
Yeah, but we know it's 7.
It's really 8. It's really 8 because of the tiebreaker. So, but I will say by the end of next weekend, they won't be any better off than where they're at now. They'll be either further back or the same. I don't see them gaining.
Maybe.
I don't see them gaining because
the Robbie Ray injury was not good.
and the Bailey. Even though Patrick Bailey's supposed to come back tomorrow,
he will be.
To me, I hope they're not rushing him, because an oblique is easy to re-aggravate.
Yeah, maybe not. They seem to feel comfortable with him.
I hope so. I hope
Yeah,
and that's another position of weakness, in my opinion. They need to get a solid defender who can hit. Murphy can hit, but he doesn't play the position well defensively. And they went for the bat, and they need to find a catcher who can not wear out Patrick Bailey. Patrick Bailey is worn out the second half, and we've seen his average 2 years in a row go plummet.
Yeah.
And it's not because all of a sudden he can't hit. He's tired.
Well, they thought Murphy would be that guy. And let's face it, Murphy is here next year. I mean, he is signed to be here.
Yeah, this hope he can. They ought to play him 45 to 50 games and give Bailey, stop playing Bailey a full series and get him rest. No other teams do that except the guys that are really the star catchers, But even then, they'll DH the catcher. They'll rotate the catcher and say, okay, you're going to DH if we want,
Here's the issue. Is it that he's tired, or is it that's just who he is as a hitter?
It's possible. It's possible.
Let's
That's who he
face
is.
it, before and when he was in the minor leagues, he was not a highly regarded hitter.
No, he wasn't. He really wasn't.
Left-handed, he couldn't hit at all. Right-handed, he could hit. Now, left-handed, he can hit, and right-handed, he can't hit.
Yeah.
So who is he really? And that's, he's done some nice things when he can hit, but he has fallen off the cliff again. So next year is a pivotal year for me to see what he comes back and does. He walks around like he's an all-pro. He walks around like he's Yogi Berra, and he's got it all made, but they need some help. He needs some help. He does.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a sign that the fact that they are putting Estrada and Rogers out there, whether they get picked up or not, just the fact that they're doing that tells me that's a sign that they feel like they're going to play the young guys. They want to, they're looking.
Is, come on, he's your lefty reliever, but they don't use him. But I guess they're not. They just don't want to. He's got his brother here. The whole thing. Do you really want to get rid of Tyler Rogers? Is he that bad?
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad. I really don't. I mean, he was getting guys out with that slurve or whatever you want to call that to left-handed hitters.
Yeah, his command has not been great, and he's hung a few. He has. Miller's got better stuff, so maybe they're. Look at the Brewers. I mean, they every guy they bring in throws 100.
Yeah,
you got to deal with that again. Same thing with Arizona. We're going to see that again.
Right.
Thank God we'll see the Marlins this weekend, so we'll see what it used to look like.
Yeah,
this is what it used to look like with a bullpen that can't get anybody out, and starting pitching that's okay, but then the bullpen comes in and messes everything up.
Have they figured out who's going to replace Robbie Ray yet, or are they going to do a bullpen by committee type thing?
Susan had something, maybe a bullpen game Saturday.
Oh boy. Yeah, that bullpen is going to be worn out. I mean, if it isn't already, it's going to get further worn out.
Warren, they got Warren, Roop, and Jelly.
Yeah.
And if they still have Taylor Rogers, he'll be in the middle of that too. And then it's the Marlins. So, you should be able to shut them down. Oh, they score some runs. Marlins not hopeless. They just can't pitch, really. That's been the problem. But they've got all these kids, the young arms. They'll see one of the guys in the Marlins that they will see has been pitching pretty well.
Right. What do you think is realistic for next year as far as going out and finding some players? Because they don't have enough players in the system to push them over the top, to even make them a playoff team really right now. What do they need to do in your mind to actually become a real legitimate playoff contender?
They got to get the meat of the order. They got to get a 3, 4, 5. Somewhere in that. They I guess in baseball today maybe a 2, 3, 4.
Right.
They probably have a 5 hitter in Chapman or something like that.
I think Chapman should be on a really good team. Chapman should bat 7th.
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit higher because he does have some power.
He has the power, but he doesn't come.
Question, I'd say 2, 3, 4 guy. A 2, 3.
Who do you think might be available out there?
You don't know. You just don't know. This may take more than 1 year. This window that they have may be a window that takes a couple of years, and they may have to look for players who can become major league players who are ready. And that's maybe what they have to do.
Yeah, I have been on record. I hate saying it because I want to see the Giants win. I'm a Giants. I followed them since I was a kid, 7 years old in 1968. But I looked at the history of the Giants the other night, Marty. They came to San Francisco in 1958. their first losing season. What year do you think that was?
The Giants' first losing season. Let's see.
In San Francisco. Yeah.
I would say 76.
72. 72 was their first. So they won 14 years in a row. Didn't make the playoffs, of course, because there was only one team for most of those years. But 14 winning seasons, 72 through basically early 80s was pretty dead. It was a rough decade. But then 83, they had a good season, 82, 83, and then it got bleak again. Then they drafted Will Clark in 85 and Robbie Thompson. Then they brought in Roger Craig. And all of a sudden, 87 title, 89 World Series, then you bring in Barry and you got Matt Williams. And then they go to 97. They have some rough years in the middle of the 90s, 95, 96. 97, Ned and Brian's first year together, as Brian is the general manager and Ned the assistant, they win 8 straight years, 8 more winning seasons with a World Series in there and a couple of divisions. And then they go down again from 05 to 08, and then 09. But during this time, they're rebuilding it. Matt Cain, Tim Lincecum, Mad Bum, Buster, Pablo, Pence. Not Pence, but
it's not that easy to get guys like that, and everything came together. And you got Freddie Sanchez, and you got Uribe and Renteria and Pablo.
But what do those have in common? They're all making moves. When you mentioned several of those guys' names, these were trades. They were free agents. Always timely trades to add.
Baseball was like that then. See, baseball is different now. Teams don't make a lot of trades like that. But I think the Dombrowskis of the world, those general managers like Ned, I think there's a place for them. And you have to go back and try to do that again, because you can't just sign free agents all the time and think you're going to do it. You've got to get some young athletes. So pitching-wise, they're going to be better next year. At least they'll know what they have sort of going into spring training. The bullpen will be probably pretty solid. Now it's a question of getting the offense going, because really offensively, that's been the problem here over the last couple of months. And it's hitting runners in scoring position. You know the numbers every day. It's 4 for 10. If it is 2 for 10, it's 4 for 30, something like that. And that's got to change. That's got to change.
Right. But I know it's hard to say who they could get. Who would you like to see them get next year? Whether it's, trade. What type of player could you see them adding that would actually help them, become more competitive?
Well, it's a good question. Christian Walker.
He's a free agent with the Diamondbacks. Yeah.
Like someone like Christian Walker.
That'd be good.
Space.
I like that.
Hoskins, maybe, if he leaves Milwaukee. But how about Christian Walker? That's a legit guy. He's got legit power. Alonso is for me with the Mets, we've always talked about him. We'll do a show next time I'm on. We'll go through the whole free agent list and go through it and see.
We got a question for you. I know we're going to let you get going here shortly. What, Dan, please ask Marty if he believes the Giants will re-sign Snell. Please.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I truly don't. Should they? Hey, why not? He's a great arm. But he's going to have a similar kind of situation. It's a tough one. Yeah. I don't think they will. I think he's going to have a market, and I don't think they'll meet that market.
Yeah.
He's a good pitch. Look, when he's on right now, he is unhittable. When he's got command of that fastball breaking pitch, the guy is unhittable. Will they go out and spend the money for him? They got Robbie Ray. They got, of course, you still have Hicks to fool around with. You've got uh, Webb. You've got Birdsong. You've got Harrison. I just don't think they're going to. I think if they're going to commit money, real money, it should be to a hitter.
Yes, I agree. They need hitting. They definitely need hitting.
Yeah.
So, well, Marty, anything else you want to add?
No, 5-1. Give me a 5-1.
5-1. I don't know. I guess if you can't go 5-1 with the White Sox and the A's sandwiched in, I don't know where you're going to get 5-1.
All right. Well, then we got 3 with the Marlins. So, maybe a little something on both sides of that starting tomorrow. Well, as I said, Birdsong, God, the way they they hit home runs, boy, if he hangs, if that top of the zone stuff hangs up there a little bit, that could be a tough one. But they haven't seen him yet. And I thought Harrison pitched great tonight. I'll go back to where we started. This is a game that got away from them, and you cannot let that happen. You can't let that. You cannot let that happen. And within 10, 12, 14 pitches again, it happened. And once that lefty had to face all those righties, and he was all over the place at that point, get him out. The first hit, Churio, okay. After that, he should have been taken out.
Yeah.
He should have been. And I don't care what the stories say tomorrow. I don't care what they ask Melvin. I don't care what his answers are. If you're managing that game at this situation, at this juncture, with this kind of, you've already seen Atlanta won today. You've got to be bold. You've got to be bold, and you've got to take charge of a situation. And for the second time in about 5 games, it did not happen.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care what they write. I don't care what people say. Those 2 games, the Friday night game and this game, I think he let get away.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Been rough. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Marty. We'll let you go. We're going to continue. I've got Cody comes in. If you ever watch Cody, he gives a great minor league report. He follows all the minor league games from A ball.
Cody who?
He's a young guy that has his own channel called Even Year Dynasty Show, and he's got a great take on the. He played ball himself, not at a high level like none of us did, but he has a really good grasp of the game, and he was pretty high on McRae. He really liked McRae's power and his defense and speed, but he says the hard part's going to be hitting for average.
Yeah, well, he's never, he's at the lower levels of the minor leagues. He didn't hit at all, but that's okay. He's at the big league level. I like what I see so far. It's worth a chance. He brings a dimension. When he gets on, and Fitzgerald get on, man, come on.
Yeah.
Things can happen on the bases.
Yes. I love their double steal last Saturday. That was wonderful.
This kid should play
Yeah.
every day. Which he is. He's playing.
I got one more question for you before I let you go. Next year's outfield, do you see it as McRae, Lee, and Ramos, or do you see anyone else cracking that line?
No, that's where you got to bring somebody in. You got Ramos and Lee. Then that other spot, you got to have somebody in that. You got to have an outfielder.
So you don't think it would be McRae,
No. I don't think McRae, they're ready to turn it over to McRae. McRae's got a long way to go to prove himself as a big leaguer. But can he be in the mix? Absolutely. But you can't go into spring training saying our right fielder is Grant McRae.
Right. So do you think they bring Yaz back again?
That's a tough question. That's a good one. As I said, the guy could go 4 for 6 or 0 for 17, and when it's all said and done, he's hitting 240. He never hits anything but 240. That's
or less, yeah.
240. Yeah. So can you do this again at his age? You got to have a better alternative. He's been great. He's a great kid. It's been a lot of fun. But I think that's a position you got to do better.
Yeah.
Got to do better.
Well, very good, Marty. I'll let you go. Thanks for coming on again, as usual. We'll have you back on whenever you're available. We'll definitely get you on
After
toward
the
the
Arizona series or
yeah.
during the Arizona series, because when at that point they're 4-1, going for that 5th win, I'll come on.
Yeah. Okay. Are you saying you're only coming on if they go 5-1?
No.
Okay, because then I would say, man, we might not see you till after the season. So, all right. Well, we will get you back on. And let me put that there. We'll get you. We'll get you.
Yeah, we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, next week. That sounds great. All right, Marty.
All right. Be well.
Pleasure having you. Thanks
No,
again.
it's fun. It's always fun.
All right. All right, Marty. The
Bye.
great Marty Lurie, everybody.
Okay.
As always, a treat for NorCal Sports Network. We'll have Cody coming up in 5 minutes. I just got to get my link situation set up, and we'll get that done here in 1 second. I got to, Cody, if you're watching, I got to send you the link. I got to get this set up. My phone got all screwed up today, and I guess I got to log in. Hold on 1 second. 1 second, guys. Sorry for the dead air. My phone acted up today, and please check your email now. I got it. Hold on here. StreamYard login. 438, 271, 438, 71. Okay, there we go. Now I can get this thing working. Invite guest, copy, paste. 1 sec, guys. I'm just doing a little bit of work because my phone acted up and I lost my link. Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. There we go. Cody will be in here shortly. And let me text him. Hey, Siri, text Cody.
What do you...
All right, guys. All right. Got that business done. So any chance we get Sierra Santos on the show? You know what, Cliff? I will reach out to her. Guys, I got a treat for you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask Ryan in the background, and let me ask Ryan here. I don't know if he could hear me, Ryan. I see Cody in the green room. Can you hear me, Cody? If you nod your head. Okay, so when I'm talking in the green room, they can see me. Ryan, see if you could pull up in StreamYard, the old video. You know what? I'll text it to you. We're going to bring in the great Cody B from Even Year Dynasty Show. Welcome, Cody. Cody in 2 minutes. Dan? He's here now. He's here now. We got to take the banner down. There we go. All right. Let's just get right into this. Well, we can talk game, but we've been doing that. We've we can't. How long can we beat a dead horse with the Giants? Let's get right into the minor league report. Give us what's happening down on the farm with the Giants. Do we have anything to be excited about that can actually help this club?
How soon we talking?
Yeah, I told everybody years ago, or weeks and months ago,
yeah,
don't expect anything good for the Giants until probably at least 27. That's my take. But
yeah, I would say 2026 is probably best case as far as like the really, really, really good stuff.
Okay.
Because I think Bryce Eldridge is going to play his way into being the opening day first baseman that season.
26? Yeah, I don't think he's ready next year.
No, unless he just goes insane in Double A. I mean, God, I don't know if you've seen what he's doing to A ball or high A right now. I mean, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, he's been tearing it up. Every time I go on Twitter, he's hitting another home run.
Yeah. I mean, he hit one yesterday or last week into like a cow pasture. It seemed like it was like 460 feet. yesterday he put, or today, sorry, he put one. Somebody, I didn't see the video yet. I happened to miss that at bat while I was doing bedtime and stuff with the little one, but I saw a screenshot where someone's like, "Yeah, it hit up here on the batter's eye," and
Wow.
it's like, yeah, he's hit a few bombs, and I mean the home run yesterday, it was to left center field. I mean that's the kind of stuff that could get out of the ballpark in Oracle, even the way he hit it. So
Yeah,
you know,
he's mashing the ball.
yeah,
That's awesome.
but
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, last week, Sacramento, there was a lot of good stuff there. Matos had himself a really good week. Wade Meckler had a really good week. Mason Black threw the ball really well in the start that he made. I actually was at that game. It was last Tuesday. It was very uneventful outside of, Black throwing the ball well. I think both teams had like 3 hits in that game.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough one. But Matos and Meckler for sure had good weeks. Those are the 2 guys I think right now could potentially help. Now Meckler, I'm not a fan of his defense. I actually would really like to see them move him to second base.
Really, Meckler? Interesting.
He played second in college. Kind of, I feel like they're trying to force him in the outfield because he is athletic, but he gets just terrible reads. And I mean, he just played 2 balls.
Oh, he runs at the ball straight instead of like, he's like,
yeah.
Oh gosh, I watched him in spring training, and I think Los and I were watching him, and it's like I was getting a chuckle at how he would just charge after a ball. He looked like a bull in a china shop or something. He just had no grace. But you mentioned these guys, and we hear McRae, and I like McRae's game, and Meckler, he can hit a little bit. But are any of and even Matos to a certain extent, and Luciano maybe, I don't know, are any of these guys besides Eldridge, because I think Eldridge could be a star, or is anybody have star potential? I'm not talking about, making an all-star team like, Ramos did. Ramos has the potential to be an annual all-star. I think he has it. But the question still remains, will he do it next year? I think he can, because I'm seeing him still crush the ball. So, and the league should have they have the white paper on him. They should know what his area, and he's starting to hit the higher fastball, which was getting him out earlier. So I like Ramos, but is there anybody else that can, I think you could be a playoff team if you had five Ramoses type productive guys.
Yeah.
But is there anybody you see? Because I don't.
Yeah. As far as like true stars,
right?
I think Eldridge is kind of the guy right now. Now they have guys that I think could. I mean, if you're looking for like game changing, can put the franchise on its back players. I mean, yeah, Eldridge is probably the one guy. Maybe, there's a few guys down in A-ball that, depending on how they develop, you just never know. Guys, a guy like Dakota Jordan, for instance, who they just drafted, who's like has tools, out as what.
Right, the kid from Mississippi, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know if one of these guys can hit. I mean, or hit his potential. A guy like McRae, it could be, he has, I think, the kind of physical gifts that if he makes enough contact and he develops that part of his game, he's so good on his other 4 tools that he very well may be a guy that's like, kind of a game-changing type player. Now, I'm not really holding my breath on that. I think he can be a really solid player. I have a hard time predicting guys to be like, this guy is going to be a superstar type player. I mean, Eldridge is the one guy I'm going out on that limb for.
Okay.
So, but if we look back, I mean, the Giants really only had one position player that fit that bill during their dynasty. And
Buster.
That was Posey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything else was pitching. So.
Right. So Yeah, but they had star pitchers. They had 3 of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, and they were consistent guys, that went out there and brought you some, gave you a chance to win almost every game. So that they pitched. But what was the question I was going to ask you?
That's a good one. I mean, Mark's asked which minor league players can be. Yeah, you saw it too.
Yeah.
Which every day can be every day.
Wow. That's a question. I think Matos can be if you give him a shot. I think Luciano can be if you give him a shot.
Yeah.
I'd put Casey Schmidt even in that category. This is what I've been upset about this year. And I'm wondering tonight with the putting up Estrada on waivers, if somebody picks him up, I'm wondering if they're saying, you know what, we got to find a spot for Casey to see if he can play or not in the majors. We got to give him an everyday shot because I don't know what you're going to do with Casey if you re-sign Chapman. You're basically
saying you're going to turn him into a utility guy, which is basically what they've done.
Which is ridiculous. He's a second-round draft pick. You don't make second-round draft picks utility guys. You got to hit on your first 2 picks. Your first 3 picks really should be
at least like half of them. I mean, that's kind of what you should be hoping for.
And the thing is we know Casey has some holes in his swing and he needs to make adjustments, but he's not going to be able to make those adjustments sitting on the bench. It's like,
yeah.
And I still think he can play. I still think he can hit the league average if given the opportunity. And he's not going to have, 25 home run power, but he might have 15 homers.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him hit the ball, hit the long ball. I mean,
he might have 20 plus homer power.
He might. He's got what, like 4 and
how many 5 in the majors?
How many's he got this year?
I think 5 in the majors, and then he had 12, 13, something like that in Sacramento.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm going to
never know.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull up Casey's stats because I'm going to take his at-bats and actually see how many home runs divided, how many, versus what the Giants' top hitters, home run hitters per at-bat. How many home runs is he 1 in 18 at bats or what? Because Casey Schmidt, let me pull him up here. All right. So if we take a look at Casey's at bats right here, we've got this year he's got 5 homers in. Is that it? 84 at bats? That's all?
Yeah.
So
been a little bit of outhouse or castle with him.
Yeah, 5 divided by 84. Wait, 84. 1 every 16.8 at bats. 16.8 at bats. All right, now just for a little fun here, guys. Matt Chapman. He's got 21. And he went, what did he do tonight? 1 for 4?
I think so.
So 21 in 5 or 492. 1 every 23.4 at bats. If you extrapolated that out, now that's not an exact science, but if you extrapolated that out, Casey hits more homers than Chapman.
Which I mean, Chapman also has 32 doubles and at least 1 or 2 triples. I'd imagine.
Well, let's
got a ton of extra
let's do it this way. Divide it by plate appearances. So, where is my plate appearances? Let me go further down. Okay, Chapman has 555 plate appearances. 559 because he's got 559 because four at bats tonight. This doesn't count tonight, and he's got 21. So 555. 21. 1 every 26.4 at bats. 1 every 26.4 at bats. And Casey Schmidt Casey Schmidt. Plate appearances.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
My whole stance on the Chapman thing is basically he makes a lot of sense if you're going to actually try and win. Like if you're going to try to win starting
86.
next season, he makes sense. Like he's clearly still a really good player, but if we're going to, kind of half attempt to win, straddle the fence, kind of try and play the young guys, but not really get any star power, and then just keep kicking the can down the road and hope that we come across a star. It's like, this doesn't make sense. We're just paying someone a ton of money to be slightly better. Like, that's where I struggle with the whole Chapman thing.
Yeah. Giovanni says, just a heads up, Dan. You're lucky I put this up, Giovanni. Paying attention to you. I don't know why. But just a heads up, Dan said Schmidt is a Gold Glover. That prediction is no bueno. He hasn't even been given a shot to play third base. He's played probably less than 25 games in the big leagues at third base. I don't know. Maybe he played third base last, but then they started moving him around.
So when Schmidt, and this will be for Giovanni, when Schmidt was playing third base almost every day in Sacramento, he was playing third about 4 days a week, and then they would toss him over at short, usually a game, occasionally second, things like that. Everybody like drools over the plays that Chapman makes where he's like on the run and things like that. Here's a fun fact. Schmidt makes all those plays in Sacramento.
I know he does.
I've watched him. Like I watched every game. He was making insane plays down in Sacramento. He just never has gotten the consistent run at third base. And Giovanni says he's too inconsistent. Chapman has 14 errors this season. He's not perfect. He's made amazing plays. He's not perfect.
Right.
So,
and I'll say this about Schmidt is read his bio, his draft bio. His draft bio says he's comparable to Matt Chapman with the glove at third base. He is fantastic, guys. I have seen him in spring training, seen him on TV in Sacramento games. He has unbelievable quick hands. I mean, he is. Have you seen the plays he makes that the regular second baseman doesn't on a throw to second from Bailey? He'll scoop balls out of the dirt and in one motion put the tag on the guy. He's that gifted with his glove.
Yeah.
And the Giants have totally botched him. They botched Ramos. They botching Luciano. They botched Matos. They botched Bart. How many guys does Farhan have to botch before we get rid of this guy? Because he missed out on Ramos. What you're seeing with Elliot Ramos, guys, tonight, and you've seen all year, if Lee doesn't get hurt, Slater doesn't get hurt, and Conforto doesn't get hurt this year, you never get to see Elliot Ramos. That's how bad Farhan's eye test is. He sent Elliot Ramos down in the second week of camp because before camp even started, he said our starting outfield is Yaz, Lee, and Conforto, and we're not going to platoon this year. So
I'll go a step farther than that. This team watched them have zero athleticism for 2 months, and they still refuse to give Tyler Fitzgerald serious run.
There's the other guy. Exactly. I mentioned him too, Cody, at the beginning of the year. I said the guy needs to play somewhere. Move him around like Chris Taylor of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You want to play short for a day or two? Spell Ahmed.
That was my
put him in short. Put him in left field. Put him in center. Put him in right. The guy has speed and he needs to play. And we all saw his power last year when he came up in September. Dude, the guy's got some power. And then he goes down to Sacramento and he pops like 5 in a week or in a couple of games.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, he popped. What did he do? Pop 8 or 10 home runs in like 12, 14 games in the big leagues?
He goes on streaky runs. He's been like this for his career. When he gets in a power groove, he really takes advantage of his pull side, and he hits a ton. And then he's got the speed where he can be a game changer. I mean, it's really clear to me that this team needs to lean in on speed in the offseason. Go into next season playing guys like planning to play McRae a lot, planning to play Tyler Fitzgerald a lot. If you want to get a Ha-Seong Kim type player, he's not like the greatest player or anything like that. Like he's offensively, he's flawed. You know, he draws a lot of walks, but he'll steal you 30, 40 bags on top of that while playing great defense. Like they need to find a way to score runs that's not station to station, getting a bunch of, you know, slightly above average power hitters that come to Oracle and then their numbers fall off a cliff. You know, it's just lean in on the speed because what they're doing is clearly not working.
Absolutely. So, what do you think of this? Keep Schmidt at 750,000 for similar stats as 25 million Chapman. Put the 24 plus million into a real bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk because the reality is I think, and this is the thing, you're betting on Schmidt developing, and I hope he can, and he hasn't had the consistent run, so it's really hard to tell if his, you know, what he was doing at AAA is going to transfer over to the majors. It hasn't yet because he was laying off a lot more, you know, chase pitches down in Sacramento. He was, you know, the one thing that actually has translated is the power a little bit because as we saw, he's hit 5 home runs in 80 plate appearances or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, but it's impossible to know in this small sample size. You know, he might be good. And if he is good, then you'd love that because, you know, if he's a 260, 270 hitter, hits 15 to 20 and then plays, you know, borderline elite defense at third, I'd rather pay him 3% of the salary that Chapman's going to get and invest that money elsewhere. But
do you play chess at all? The board game chess?
Yeah, I've played a good amount.
Because we've got a game of chess going on here, and Giovanni, who likes to come into our chat a lot, but he doesn't show up when the Giants are losing, says Danny's too consistent, just saying. And then Giovanni says that he says that the Giants will make the playoffs. He said it every year, all the time. And he says, someone asked him, do you play? Yes, I did. Season's not over. And Los actually checkmates him here. Just a heads up, Giovanni has predicted Giants playoffs for years. Really? No bueno. But here's the checkmate right there. Giovanni, 1, make sure you come on when they don't. And 2, some year you'll eventually be right.
That's hilarious.
Okay, there we go. Checkmate. Los.
6 or 7 back in the loss column. I mean, we've already time of death this season. Like
he says, I will make all the hate in the world. I love it. Giovanni, I did say the Giants will make the playoffs. I will take all the hate in the world for supporting this team. Look, you've never taken as much hate as I've taken. Okay? That's easy. Try coming out against your team in the beginning of the season and saying this is not a playoff team after they signed Soler and Chapman and Snell and Murphy and Jung-Hoo Lee, and seems like there was somebody else of significance I'm forgetting, but Jordan Hicks. I said they wouldn't make the playoffs. The lineup scares nobody. It's a flawed construction of the team. And I said Jordan Hicks should be in the bullpen because he's never pitched more than 77 innings. He's got electric stuff. Build the best back end of a bullpen you can have in the major leagues with the Rogers brothers, Walker, Hicks, and Duvall. And that is a nasty 5 guys to go through. And then you still got guys like Jelly and Miller that, you know, but if you have those 5 guys in the back of the bullpen, you would probably have 3 capable closers in Walker, Duvall, and Hicks. And he's got Taylor Rogers, who's been a closer. You had the makings of an incredible bullpen. And what did I tell you would happen? I said Hicks will flame out and he will not be useful in the second half. And my fear was that he would get into arm problems and not be useful and get hurt. And that's exactly what happened. His fastball's in the low to mid 90s when he's lost 8 to 10 miles off of his fastball this year from the beginning of the year. And it shouldn't take a guy like me who is not anywhere near qualified to run a front office, to see that. If Farhan can't see that, they need to move on. They need to move on and get somebody who's got eyes for baseball, not just looking at numbers. Numbers do not tell the whole story when you're looking at Baseball Reference.
Okay. Well, it's like to me, he has no long-term vision. And I mean, even like a season-long vision. And where I go with that is, at the beginning of the year, everyone's like, oh, we've got Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb are going to come back. And then and then they sign Snell at the very, very end of spring training. And he's going to, he's going to be behind the 8 ball. So they start running all these bullpen games early in the year. And he's done this 2 years in a row now where they run bullpen games because, the analytics and everything talk about how it's a good way to, to stay competitive in games and whatever. Whatever the rationale is, they view it as it's a good way to try and win games. Well, the problem is you start spending the bullpen, and it's like he has no foresight to the fact that it's going to crush his bullpen throughout this for 4 months of the season when they're just gassed in June. And for the second straight season, the bullpen was gassed in June. And it's like, and then they act all surprised when the bullpen's blowing games left and right. And it's like, anybody could have predicted this. Anybody with any common sense when it comes to baseball could have predicted that the bullpen was going to go down the tank, just like they did last season. And it's not that they have a bad bullpen. It's just you've overworked them. So it's just frustrating because it's like, I don't understand how he can try and claim to be the smartest guy in the room and do all these different things. And then just this kind of crap happens every year. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. It gets old, and you can see the construction of the team. Farhan is trying to win on margins, on every little margin.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to happen. So,
yeah.
Hold on. Go ahead and cover a little more what you got on players that have had some good weeks this past week, and I'm gonna step aside for a second here. I got a text here.
Well, and I'll also backtrack on to Mark was asking which other guys could, potentially start earlier in the video. A couple other guys that I'll shout out. I think Diego Velasquez, who's over in AA right now, he's shown up to AA. He's hitting like 309 or a little over 300. I think he could be a everyday second baseman. Might not be a star or anything like that, but he's really solid defensively, has plus speed, and he can just flat out hit. He's a line drive guy, has enough power to just get it over someone's head. He's only going to hit maybe 5 to 10 in a season, but I could see him being a really solid player. I think you brought up Luciano. Obviously, he has that potential. He's he could be at least an everyday player in some capacity. They've got to figure out where they're going to play him, though. He actually hit another home run today. I just saw. So hopefully he's starting to get on one of his runs. But I mean, outside of that, like a lot of the talent for, everyday potential is going to be down in the lower levels right now. You've got a few guys that are recent draft picks this season. Hipwell's having a really good week. A guy like Bo Davidson, who's been playing super well in San Jose. Tibbs, who's maybe he'll move fast, but he's struggling right now in high A. I'm not going to overreact to that. It's been a week, but he's like 1 for 26 or 7 or something like that right now. And then, I mean, it's hard to project. There's a bunch of guys that had played pretty decently this season. Charlie Sakowny's had a pretty good season, but he's an older player in high A. So I'm, not sure how he'll progress. Barracoto has had kind of a down year, but I like the power potential with him at least. And then guys like Jonah Cox, who maybe he'll be a reserve outfielder down the road. It's kind of tough. The one pitcher that doesn't really get a lot of attention that I would want to shout out is Trent Harris in high A, who is a reliever that I could see moving really quickly through the system. He's in high A right now. I think he's going to be AA to start next season. Wouldn't be shocked if he's in AAA pretty quickly. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him in San Francisco like before next season ends. So he's a guy that could move pretty quick.
That's as far as the other pitchers that we've heard of that were close, that this offseason, we heard a lot about Birdsong. We heard Wisenhunt. We heard Black. Is Black, does he have enough stuff to fix his early problems in the earlier part of the season when he was getting hit pretty hard? Does he have the makeup to be able to be a big league starting pitcher? And what about Wisenhunt?
Well, so funny enough, I got to see both of them pitch. The 2 games I went to, Black pitched in the first one, Wisenhunt pitched in the second. Black, I think he has the stuff. I mean, there's plenty of guys around the league that are successful starters that don't throw more than 93, 94. Like they do exist.
The greatest was Greg Maddux, but nobody does like what he does anymore.
Yeah, but it's the command. Like you can't be throwing that and then missing out in the heart of the plate or falling behind on a bunch of hitters. And that's something he still struggles with down in AAA, where he does fall behind a lot of hitters. I think even on Tuesday last week, he did walk 4 hitters, and he went 5 2/3, but he walked 4 guys. Now he only gave up 1 hit, and the 1 hit was really because Meckler misplayed a ball in center field. But it's tough because like you can't be throwing 92 and missing your spots a lot. So that's something he'll have to improve. But I think he has the stuff to be a back end of the rotation starter. At least he's just not going to be a dominant guy or anything like that. But he should be able to eat up some innings. Wisenhunt, George, are you talking about down in Sacramento? Just follow up on that one, or are you talking about the guys that came up to San Francisco? But Wisenhunt, I mean, Wisenhunt's he had an injury. I don't know what it was. Minor leagues are terrible about reporting these things. He went to rehab in San Jose, and he just made his first rehab in Sacramento this last week. He only pitched 3 innings, and I mean, he made 1. He couldn't put hitters away. He kept getting up, getting ahead of guys, and then he just couldn't seem to put them away. And then he ended up giving up a 2-run home run and gave up 3 earned in 3 innings. So, I mean, that's been the struggle with him. He's been struggling to keep the ball in the yard a little bit this season. And I mean, the home run he gave up was not a cheapie. Like the guy got all of it. So changeup's elite, but I until you improve the fastball and the breaking ball, I'm not sure what his ceiling really is. That's the problem. They're not missing those pitches right now. So okay, so George, if you're asking why they have high ERAs, if you're asking them why in Sacramento, part of that's going to be impacted by.
Well, not that one. This one. What did that last one?
Yeah.
Oh, Cody. Okay. Hey, all right.
Right on. Thanks, man.
This is the question, right? Cody, why do any of our pitchers have high ERAs? Okay.
Yeah. And that's where I'm not sure if he's asking for in AAA or when they get to the majors, because in AAA, I mean, part of it's the league. They play in places like Las Vegas, Reno, Salt Lake City, Albuquerque. I mean, these are like playing in Coors Field. It's launching pads. When Tacoma's probably the most pitcher friendly. I don't know if you've seen that ballpark. It's like 425 with this super giant wall in center field. And then like Luciano kind of got robbed of a home run in the game last week where he hit one hopped the wall, like landed on the warning track, and it was probably 415 feet from where he hit it. But Sacramento is like pretty neutral. And then a lot of the other parks are just basically like playing in Coors Field. They're like launching pads. So that's part of it. You see a guy like Wisenhunt who's having his home road splits are pretty drastic. Like at home, he's a really solid pitcher in Sacramento. And then when he goes on the road, he had like an 8+ ERA. So, that's, and it's a smaller strike zone. They do the challenge system there, which typically favors the hitter a little bit more than the pitcher. It makes it a little bit of a tighter zone. Generally speaking, there are umpires like, you get a Laz Diaz game and it's like the strike zone's about that wide. So
got any other questions? See, we got an hour and 35 minutes, so we're good.
Yeah.
I think the Giants, I saw Robert Brown's earlier comment, his little some kind of, I don't know what it was, financial deal projection had the Giants winning 79 games. I have him going anywhere between 77 and 80 is what I think. I think I predicted their final outcome being 78 and 84 this year. Robert says, next year, can we pretend we are contenders? We need to play the kids and see what happens and then move from there. Yeah. I mean, Farhan has messed this up, in my opinion. You had the opportunity last year to play a lot of these kids. You could have played Casey for a good half the season, giving him 300 plus at bats. I don't know what he ended up with. In fact, I got him right here. I don't have to pull it up, but he had 277 plate appearances, 253 at bats last year. I think they could have given him another 100 appearances later in the second half because they did send him down. He did make adjustments. And, you could have seen, hey, we really do need Matt Chapman because we don't think he's ever going to be able to do what we think we signed him to do. But you don't really know that yet because, he got off to a slow start in AAA this year, but then he caught fire and he was killing it. He led like 32 RBIs in 30 games, or reverse that, 30 RBIs in 30, something crazy like that. He was leading I think he was leading the PCL, wasn't he, in RBIs for the beginning of the year?
He was definitely up there. I don't keep I don't necessarily keep track.
Yeah,
I know that
he was definitely producing. Yeah. And then what the Giants do is they bring up what are potentially their future everyday players and they bench them. It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely, it's laughable because it's like they do it all the time. And, it's like, you're going to bring these guys up. Guys like Brett Wisely, look, he's nothing against Brett Wisely. He's a fine young player, but he's not going to be, at least as far as I can tell, maybe he surprises me. He seems like a guy that is a solid player that you would want to have on your team that could fill in on a, once a week basis to give your regular a spell. And he could be a pinch hitter. He could do different things. You might even be able to get 2 weeks out of him for an injury. You got somebody, okay, we can get by. Wisely will hold us until, Ketel Marte gets back, we can do that. I mean, this is what happens with teams. Marte's out right now. Diamondbacks have to call up some young guy and he plays for 2 or 3 weeks. But if you got to rely on that guy for 3 months, it's not going to happen. We saw Wisely. Everybody, Wisely's the guy. I go, no, he's not going to be the guy. I'm telling you guys, he's a fine player, but he's not an everyday player. So I'm fine sitting a guy like Wisely, but don't do that to your top draft picks that you think you drafted and you developed with the idea that they will be everyday players. If they did this to Bryce Eldridge in a couple of years, it'd be like, what are you doing? You're only going to play him against right-handers?
I saw someone suggest that at one point where they were talking about like how could he and Vladdy coexist, and someone was like, "Well, you just play Vladdy against." I was like, "Dude, we are not. No, it's not that hard. One plays first, the other DHs. The end, guys. They can coexist."
Wow,
not rocket
exactly.
science.
It's not. No, it's not. Wow. Yeah. So I think, like you said, 26 is the first time you might see Eldridge. But what do you think, everything being the same, okay, they don't get any impact free agents. Farhan doesn't make any monster blockbuster trades to bring in a superstar. How far away do you think this team is from being a competitive team just with their farm system?
Yeah, so I mean, this is where I struggle with this team. They are a 500 team. I
Mhm.
mean, they've been a 500 team for years, but they're a 500 team, and they easily have lost like 10 games this season where they either Bob Melvin mismanaged the hell out of the game, especially the bullpen, or they just couldn't get a situational at bat, whether it's a clutch hit, whether it's, they failed multiple times to get a runner in from third with less than 2 outs, which that's been a recurring thing all season. So to me, like the margin between being this, mid average team and being just a good, solid team that wins, 88, 90 games, like it's really not as big as we think. Now, granted, they could go in the tank, they could go lose a bunch of games and end up as a 76, 77 win team, in September. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, now that would have only gotten them to like 84, 85 wins. But as of right now, like I look at this and I'm like, there's not like the margin is not as big as I feel like we think, but like part of that falls on the roster they built. It's a very flawed roster. So yeah, I would lean personally. I think if they lean in on the defense, the speed, and get a little bit more contact oriented guys in the lineup to bring a little bit more balance, I think this team could be kind of like sneaky competitive next season. But if you're relying on a bunch of young guys, sometimes that's where it can the bottom can fall out quick. But it can also, kind of jolt them into contention. We saw with the Reds last season where they just went, full on into the youth, and they went all of a sudden they took off and they ended up winning 83 games. They kind of fell off at the very end, but it gave them a shot, last season when they were well under 500 when they finally embraced all their kids. And this season, it's been disappointing for them, but they've had like an insane amount of injuries to like important players on their roster. So I don't really think it's a youth issue there for them. But I look at the Giants and it's like you could go behind guys like Ramos, Fitzgerald, McCray, whether it's Schmidt or you already have Bailey there, and start relying on some of these guys in everyday roles. And if you want to bring in some guys like Kim or bring Matos up and play him a good amount, you could go with an outfield where you have Lee, Matos, McCray, and Ramos, those four guys. That's two lefties and two righties, and you have the three outfield spots and a DH spot. It's not that hard to find 500 at bats for these guys. It's just, to me, like, get more contact guys, get more speed in the lineup, actually play some small ball, quit trying to rely on the home run in this ballpark. You have some good young pitching. Actually go into the season with all your starters instead of a bunch of guys that are going to go 2-3 innings. Hopefully Tristan Beck's back next season, because I feel like he's an important player for this bullpen. And I can't even really go into the whole Snell or Chapman thing because I don't know if they're going to re-sign those guys, but I do think they can be competitive. Now, will they? I don't know. It's just Farhan's going to do what he's going to do, and he'll probably shop on the margins, and Snell will probably be gone.
They have some pieces with some athleticism, which is nice to see. I am liking McCray, just watching him play.
I mean, lean in on your pitching. If you're going to re-sign Snell. Like do it, and go in on having this really good front end or really good rotation, and that's not going to kill your bullpen in April again.
Yeah, this guy Josh says, funny thing about Wisely and Schmidt is you think one isn't going to make it and the other should get every day at bats. They're both 25, and Wisely has the better stats. LMAL, laughing my ass off. Okay. Well, first of all, Josh, there are two different types of players. Okay. Schmidt is more of ideally he's a third baseman who's got a great glove. Wisely's glove is nothing special. It's not horrible, but it's not Gold Glove caliber. And Wisely's hits from the left side, and he doesn't. How do I say this? His stats are better, but they're limited. The league doesn't have any history hardly on Wisely. Schmidt has probably 400, close to 400 plate appearances in the big leagues. But Schmidt is the much more talented player. I mean, it's not even close as far as talent. So you're going to look at stats on a very limited basis. You go with the eye test. The eye test, you drafted Casey Schmidt in the second round, and he's Gold Glove material. And we just looked at his home run power. He's hitting one every 17.4 plate appearances to Chapman's one every 26 plate appearances, or 24, whatever it was. So now that's a small number again, so we can't really tell if that's accurate, but it does give us an indication that Casey has 20 plus home run power. And if you let him play 500, 600 plate appearances, he's probably going to hit 20 homers. And he's probably going to
they're
play.
almost the exact same player.
Yeah, exactly. They're
so far.
Yeah. And Casey's probably a little quicker, to be honest. Chapman's great, but Casey's 6 years younger and doesn't have a previous labrum issue with his hip. Even though Chapman's been fantastic. Chapman is great defensively, okay? But, we haven't seen what Casey can do.
I mean, Chapman's hitting, 226 with runners in scoring position this season?
No, 190 something, I think.
Oh, God, did it go down?
Is what somebody said. Ryan's put that stat up before. Ryan, what's the stat on Matt Chapman with runners in scoring position this year? I don't know if it's just the whole year or if it's just the last so many at bats. I know he has like almost 40 Ks with runners in scoring position this year.
He's hitting 226 with a 740 OPS. Is that strikeouts? No, that's RBIs. Hold on. 38 strikeouts.
Hey, Giovanni, you can enjoy your Chapman as the starting third baseman until further notice, but the team still stinks, okay? So what are you getting? Matt Chapman is a very solid ball player, but there's nothing around him that suggests that he's going to make the team that much better. That's the issue I have. Matt Chapman is a great third baseman. He's, he can hit the ball.
Actually, pull up the Perry Olson quote here. Comment really quick. This will be perfect. Yes. Okay. Perry says, I had a big hopes for Schmidt, but he's getting older and hasn't blossomed yet, like Bart. I'm going to use Joey Bart for this example because this is actually a perfect example. Joey Bart last season, and I was on record saying this, he improved his swing and miss. He showed improvement both defensively, and I wanted to keep him around primarily for the defensive improvements that I saw that they're not always reflected in the analytics. But offensively, he cut down on the swing and miss quite a bit. His plate discipline improved. Now, the numbers didn't jump with it. The process improved. The production did not as much last season. Then he got injured, and then Bailey does what he does, and we got Wally pipped out of the starting role, and he ended up down in Sacramento. But you could see the improvement. Like, it was there. There was reason to believe that he could do what he's doing this season, last season, based on what you saw. If you don't just use the analytics and the numbers and look at his stat line at the end of the year, you could tell he was making contact at a much better rate and swinging at better pitches. Now, he was hitting a bunch of singles. The home runs and power kind of disappeared, but it's not like this guy just all of a sudden doesn't have power. He was still producing crazy exit velocities. Like I said, a lot of the process stuff was there indicating that he could do this. And then the Giants foolishly gave up on him and went with Tom Murphy. And now we saw what Bart's done in Pittsburgh, where he's basically become their starting catcher. Now he's injured, which sucks for him. But, it's like with Casey Schmidt, you can see in AAA, he was making better swing decisions. He was laying off, some of the chase pitches, and his power, like he was utilizing his power more. And we've seen the power translate to the majors. We haven't quite seen the rest of it yet, but it's, there's reason to believe it can happen.
Look at this. Matt Chapman in high leverage situations this year, 28% K rate, 6.9% base on balls, 196 batting average, 612 OPS, 70 WRC plus. Wow. Yeah, those aren't good numbers in high leverage situations. He has not done well in high leverage situations, and that's when they need him the most. Yeah, Bart in 195 at bats this year. Oops, I'm hitting the wrong one. Okay, Bart, 195 at bats this year, is hitting 272, 12 home runs. Yeah. Well, Cody, we got something special here, guys. I want to play for you something. I want to tease you with this. Let me see if I can pull this off here. If I can get it to play right. All right, here we go, guys. I'm going to just share something with you for a couple of minutes. Something we had on the show. It's been over a year ago, but here we have it. All right. Welcome to the NorCal Sports Network special edition. Today we're talking about former San Francisco Giants general manager Bobby Evans and his impact on the current squad and beyond. I'm Dan Camilio along with Eric Romo. How you doing today, Eric?
Doing good. It's going to be a fun topic to hit because, he's got so much, he didn't exactly leave the organization in a favorable light, but hey, he has an impact on what we're seeing out in the field today.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of those guys that are playing for the Giants today and the impact on this 2023 ball club. Got to go right to the top and maybe the very best closer in all of baseball, Camilo Tranquilo Cool Duvall. This is old, guys. Yes, Cool Milo, as we like to refer to him here on the NorCal Sports Network. Thanks to
thanks, Mark
Graves, one of our followers. He nicknamed him Cool Milo, he's super cool. All right, guys. There you see it. You see it up on the board, on the screen, coming next week to NorCal Sports Network. Bobby Evans will join the show. So we've had Ned Coletti on. We've had many times. We're going to get Bobby Evans on. In case you guys missed it the other night, Sean Estes was on. And that was probably one of the best interviews we've ever had. That was awesome. And last night, Ned, tonight, Marty, and Cody here. Tomorrow night, Ron Rivera, Super Bowl champion player with the Chicago Bears in 1985, played with the best defense ever assembled in a season, coached the Super Bowl bound Carolina Panthers, and also recently was coaching with the Washington Commanders. So anyway, so you know what, Giovanni? Your comments are starting to get on my nerves a little bit because I'm not going to put a guest in a hot seat. Even if I had Farhan on, I wouldn't be rude to him. I would ask him direct questions, but I'm not going to ridicule somebody when I face to face. Show them respect.
You're not there to argue with these people.
Yeah,
like,
come on. Yes, Cal linebacker Robert. That's right. Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, Cal linebacker Ron Rivera joining us tomorrow night. I just got to make sure. Okay. Well, we will get to that. But yes, so unless something unexpected comes up with Ron's schedule, we will have him. But Cody, it's been great having you, man. Next Wednesday night, we'll do it again.
yes, sir.
We'll have to. What are they playing next Wednesday? Are they?
Is it Arizona or is it San Diego? It's one of the two.
I think it's San Diego next week.
I know they start playing all these divisional games, and
next Wednesday night it's Arizona. Oh, it is Arizona. Okay. Shoot. Okay, they're lucky. Cattell Marte's still out, but they will see Cattell later in September. So then it's on to San Diego, and then Milwaukee, San Diego come in. I think they get – I said they were going to get eliminated in Kansas City. I think it's probably going to – by the time they face Baltimore, they're going to get eliminated. I mean, they could hang on. Mathematically, they could still be about where they're at, 6-7 games out. But I don't see them getting to within 3 or 4. I don't see it.
I've already time of death this team season.
Yeah, it's too late. I mean, they're 8 games technically behind the Braves. The Braves have to lose 8 more games than the Giants lose this year. So that means the magic number is 22 right now for the Braves. 22. Any combination, if you guys don't understand what magic number is, any combination of Braves wins or Giants losses, it takes a number off. For example, right now, the magic number is 22. It was probably 24 tonight before the games, and the Braves won, which brought it to 23. The Giants lost, which brought it to 22. So let's say the Braves win tomorrow and the Giants lose tomorrow. The magic number is now 20. If the Braves lose and the Giants win, it's still 22. If the Giants lose and if the Giants win and the Braves win, it's 21 because the Braves won. It removes 1 game off of the magic number. So any combination, the Giants have 28 games remaining. The Braves have 29 or 30, whatever it is, something like that. There's over 50, almost 60 games between the two, and the magic number's 22, guys.
How many games do the Giants have left? 28, you said?
28. Yeah.
And they probably need to go about 10 games over to have a prayer.
Oh, no, they got to go better than that. They got to
maybe more.
There's 20. They need to go minimum 21-7.
Oof.
Or 20-8. 20-8 gets them to 87 wins. But that means the Braves, who have 72 wins, only have to win 15 to tie them.
It's not likely.
The Braves have to fall flat on their face and the Giants have to get red hot.
Yeah,
that's
they need about a 10-game win streak.
Yeah, and if you have a 10-game win streak and the Braves go 5-5, you're still 3 back in the loss column, and now you've only got 18 games. And if the Giants go on a 10-game win streak, I will have Chardal open this show and close it.
He still keeps asking me every time I go live. I always come in and there's a comment.
Oh, gosh, we got to end the show, guys. We got to go. We're going to go over 2 minutes. Hey, guys, we're going to run. No intro. Bye.